Welcome back, folks, to the Director's Garage. I hope that didn't hurt. I'm your host and resident idiot, Michael, and first of all, what do you think of Stop Making Sense, re-released in theaters? It's breaking records. The young folks are coming on to our music, guys. This is amazing. This is terrific. Well, today, folks, that's not what we're here to talk about. Today, we're going to be breaking down my visit to CanJam SoCal 2023, and you know I'm going to have kind of a more offbeat take on the show, so strap in and let the ridiculousness begin. Now, I had a list of things that I really wanted to check out, and unfortunately, I didn't get to everything. There were some major things that I'm sure I missed. Upon arriving, I stowed my ZMF Caldera in my trusty leather satchel. Well, it's a backpack, but I grabbed my camera and I set off on an epic adventure, kind of like Indiana Jones, Fortune and Glory, kid. Well, it turns out I found both. As for the glory, I had so many of you come up and say hi. It's kind of a little bit embarrassing, to be honest. I'm just a guy doing a thing. But a number of people stopped and wanted to talk about headphones, which is really cool. I even took a few selfies, man. I'm no Kardashian, though. All right.
Okay.
Now, my first stop was at the high-end DCS room. See, I have that Lena DAC back there, but I wanted to know if adding the master clock made a huge difference. The answer? Well, yeah, and no. Now, the Lena DAC by itself is most excellent. It's a quality streamer, and the DAC is really top grade. Basically, it's ripped from the Bartok. Then I powered up the clock, and after a second or two, the sound starts pouring out, and it's just more organized. Everything is more specific. I should also mention something that seems to get missed with this Lena system is the amp. Now, the DCS Lena amp is righteous, folks. It's a serious piece of kit. What I've been hearing is if you're going to skip anything in the system, skip the amp. Well, I'm not so sure about that anymore. But back to the clock, what I found particularly interesting is it's not like there's more bass, but it's like you can better hear the bass because it seems to cut through the mix unscathed. It's an interesting effect and an upgrade for sure. But an $8,000 upgrade? Leaving the Lena question in my rearview mirror, I set out to hear the hottest new product release. That would be the 64 Audio Velour with 2 dots over the U.
Please!
Seriously, it's not the worst naming mistake of the day, but it's a close second. Congrats, guys. You named a product that no one can pronounce. Then I gave him a listen, and let's just say that if bass is your first and only consideration, this is your IEM. Bass oozes out of these things in every direction all at once. It's Bassy McBasserson. It's got a booty that even J-Lo would say, whoa, that's a lot of booty. It's all bass all the time. Now, you can tame that bass a little bit with a different Apex module. That's these cylinders that go in the ear hole on the faceplate. Yeah, you want to pick the tighter one. It's gold in color, and it only ships with the velour. Now, the shape of the shell is the exact same as every other 64 Audio Universal. The U12T, the U18, Forte Trio, you name it. They all share the exact same shell, and yes, they're still slapping a sticker on the outer shell in the name of design. It's a nice purple color with some depth, but you know, it's still a sticker when everyone else is just killing it in design and materials. But inside, things have changed quite a bit. Different passages have been carved out to accentuate the bass and give the IEM a wide stage, and I can confirm that stage is just terrific on this IEM. As for the bass, well, it's boomy even for me, and I'm a bass head. Yeah, it's a bit much. Then a seat opened up across the aisle at the headphone table. I bowled over 4 people trying to snatch it up. Sorry, folks, coming through. Well, the old man won the musical chair scramble, and then I looked, and it wasn't even the new headphone, it was the OG. Insert your eye roll here. Well, it was attached to a snazzy RME DAC. I love those things. I think they're so cool with the meters and all that. Well, it was fun to play with it, and I did check out the OG. I don't recall recall hearing them before, but I'm sure I did. I can't imagine I missed them, but I couldn't tell you a thing about them. It was just way too noisy in the room. So when I flipped over to the Headphone 2 chair, it was the same thing. I could barely hear anything over that noise in the room. I'm going to need a quiet room to check these things out, but they are lighter than the OG for sure. But I don't like the clamp pressure on those things. They dig in just below the ears. Not the best. Now I tried adjusting the straps on the side, nothing doing, but any chance of a sonic assessment was gone with all the noise in the room. I was kind of defeated, and seeking comfort, I sat down at the Noble audio table, and I gotta confess, it did not suck. Noble's new offerings for CanJam are the Spartacus and the Focus Pro Wizard Edition, both of which I got to premiere right here on the Director's Garage. You gotta subscribe, folks. I get to show you some stuff before anyone else gets to see it. And I gotta say, in person, these things are even more impressive. The Spartacus features 2 bone drivers and 4 balanced armatures. I found them to be really fun. They're not gonna blow you away in the detail department. It's got kind of middle-of-the-road technicals, but they deliver a terrific frequency response that avoids bloom. They're good for rocking out, EDM, metal, pop, even movies. Livelier stuff is going to shine on these things. Now, as for that Focus Pro, it's got the same internals as the original, but it's wrapped in organic materials like wood and colored stuff. So no 2 cases or headphones look alike. You really are getting a custom experience with these things, and they are simply gorgeous through and through. When everybody's messing around with stickers and foil, Noble sits above everything else in its class. These belong in a museum! Well, it's always good to chat with the folks at Noble, too. Jim, who is John Moulton's brother, helps run operations stateside. He's a really cool guy. It's a family business, and it's kind of hard to believe that this small group of tight-knit family routinely takes on these industry giants and, frankly, outclasses them. Now, since I got my IEM juices flowing... Okay, sorry. I needed a good segue. What am I going to do? Okay, I dropped in on the Empire Ears table, and I found gold in them thar hills. The new IEM is called the Raven, and it's meant to be a follow-up to the Empire Ears Odin, which I purchased from Audio 46 for review in the early days of this show. Now, my feelings at the time were that the Odin were a technical marvel, but it had some tuning issues. Little light on the bass, and the upper mids and lower treble was too hot and came off as kind of harsh. Well, I'm happy to report both were addressed in the Raven. The formerly harsh upper mids have been smoothed over, and a punchier bass has been added down low. Now, these are what I'd hoped the Odin would be. My only issue, I'm not a huge fan of the looks of this one. The faceplate feels plasticky, and it's really prone to fingerprints. It's lacking a bit in that design element, and for $3,600, yeah, I'm going to be a bit picky. The sound, however, is spot on. No problem there. It's one of the day's best. Now, one of my targets at CanJam this year was the cool booth that Warwick Acoustic set up. I really wanted to hear the Aperio, and the thought of making an escape into a private pod was the kind of adventure I'm always down for. But what I wasn't down for was sitting in a long line, and it was really long. So I aborted and I went to the Woo and Abyss room. Now, there was a wait in that room too, but I got a seat at the new WA-23, which is officially positioned like a tick below the WA-33 in the Woo lineup. I didn't know that, but as luck would have it, I did say fortune and glory at the top of the show, didn't I? Well, it was paired with the Abyss Diana, one of my prime targets for CanJam SoCal. Now, the Diana is a nice headphone. I love the build. The new wood piece on the exterior ear cup really classes up the whole affair. And the headphone has a specific signature, something I always appreciate. It's got a good stage, well-formed bass, but the mids sound a little more elevated than the 1266, and the technical speed image, they don't sound as defined and sharp as the Abyss flagship for me. Now, I happen to have my ZMF Caldera tucked into my leather rucksack, and in direct comparison, let's just say I'm not quite as eager to jump on that Diana bandwagon as I was before CanJam. Then at the next table, I spied a sparkling new Woo Tube Mini on an iPad. The guy who'd been sitting in the seat had been trying to audition, I think, the entire Diana Krall catalog, because about every third word out of his mouth was Diana Krall. Where's the Diana Krall? I need another word. I need more Diana Krall. Well, when he finally aborted, I sat down and checked out the Diana there without the Krall, and again through the Tube Mini, and it gave me a similar experience. And then I swapped out for my Caldera there. Well, the Tube Mini with the Caldera was a lit combo. I could see myself taking that rig on the road with my iPad. It's a hotel room concert in the waiting, maybe without all the Diana Krall. Love her, but seriously. My only concern is that this dongle doesn't come with a battery. It draws its power from the device that's feeding it. And I'm thinking if it's my phone, it's going to fall out quicker than a Jonas Brothers marriage.
Come on!
Too soon? Now, by this point in the day, I'd passed by the ZMF room several times, and each time it was jammed. Seriously, jammed. But when I finally wandered in the room, Bevan was standing in front of a ZMF shrine of all custom products. It was a wall of ZMF glory. Well, she stopped what she was doing and she came over and she told me she's seen this show. It was so cool. No one sees this show. Well, she liked my Caldera review. I was blown away. Bevan was super nice and asked all about how I put this show together, and I answered truthfully, which is to say, slowly. Well, we shared a laugh. Seriously down to earth and lovely. We chatted for a while, but then I spotted a place at the hollow audio slot and slid in like a fanboy into a celebrity's DMs. Well, I went for my Caldera because, when in Rome, and I was really impressed by what the hollow delivered. I get what people love about this stack, but I also think after listening to it for a bit, I'm kind of glad I went with the Lena. To me, the Lena sounds a little more refined. I'm not sorry I chose it, but I do get the appeal of that hollow stack. Now, once I'd had enough, well, okay, I was pretty into it. I got up and Zach joined. He talked all about his passion for wood, and me being an amateur woodworker, he told me about how his hobby became his passion and career. He walked me through how ZMF went from just doing mods to an industry force. It was really inspiring. I tell young folks looking for a new career, do something you would otherwise do for free and you'll never work a day in your life. Well, Zach certainly has that going for him. He loves building headphones, even today. He told me about his new products coming out, the Bokeh, which someone told him is not pronounced Boca. I'm like, he went to film school. I'm like, what? Well, it's been in development since 2019, and then he told me he may even send something over for us to review. How cool would that be? It was fascinating, both of them. Maybe my favorite conversation of the day. But I also ran into Audio Fool, one of the live stream regulars. Well, that was really cool. And then when I went to sit down and have lunch, several people just came up to my table while I was snarfing down a Cobb salad. That was really cool. Now, after lunch, I set out for Kinera. Now, I love the Nana 2.0, and when offered a chance to hear their new flagship, the Loki, hell yeah, brother. The Loki reminded me a bit of the Noble Audio Sultan. In fact, it turns out that Sebastian came from Noble. Who knew? He may even send some stuff for us to check out on the show. What a day we were having, guys. The Loki has 6 balanced armatures, 4 Sony on E-stats, a dynamic driver, and a bone driver. It's not actually too far off from the Sultan. Actually, I love the look of these things too. They look like they came from the Emerald City. NEM! NEM! I did warn you that this is going to be kind of silly, didn't I? Well, I wandered over to the headphones.com area, and it was an area, guys. There was so much stuff on display, I couldn't take it all in. This is how you do CanJam, folks. Well, they brought it. But what caught my attention was the Zahl HM1. Now, this was a star of last year's CanJam that I missed because the Queen died and I got assigned to London. So I grabbed my Caldera and I dove in deep. The Zahl is one of the best headphone amps I've ever heard. And with the Caldera, it was just terrific synergy from the start. I turned all the dials and tried the different modes, but I was actually surprised by how small the amp was. I was expecting something bigger for some reason, but it's really a top grade build. The switches, the dials are very precise. It's a powerful unit. This thing really pushes some electrons around, and it was paired with another DAC that I was down to the wire on when I was looking at the Lena, and that's the Weiss Audio 502. Wow. Now, the Zahl was a worthy product. I hope I can get one in here someday. Headphones.com is really the only US distributor, and the wait list is into 2024 already. And I can see why. Now, the guy sitting next to me, well, he was checking out the new Hifiman Aria Organic. And when he got up, the Organic found its ways into my greedy little paws. Now, it's a downgrade from the Caldera to be sure, but folks, at around $1,200, this has got to be one of the best values around, if not the best. It's also Hifiman's best design. These things are beauties. Terrific headphone. After wearing out my welcome at the headphone station, I tried again for the Warwick Acoustics pod, but yeah, no luck. The line was even longer. So I wandered off into the corner and a flashy red exhibit caught my eye. The Viva has some massive tube action going on, and it was paired with a matching reel-to-reel source deck. More fortune and glory, folks. Well, Money by Pink Floyd was the tune that was playing, and I really enjoyed this listen. So ridiculous. All right. Really impressive, but so was the price of the amp. It was around 18 grand, and that's going to have to be a pass for me. Now, after checking out that setup, I got stopped by someone from HEDDphone. I thought, oh no, what did I do this time? Busted! I felt like I'd been pulled over after drinking one too many. Well, it turns out they want me to do a panel at a future CanJam. How awesome is that? I don't know what I'd add to a panel. I'm not a numbers guy or a graph guy, but hey, I'm down for anything. I told him I was looking for the Headamp room, and he escorted me there. It was like a police escort. Well, I was hoping to get a listen to the new Headamp Grand Cayman electrostatic amp, but they didn't bring it. Someone fell ill or something, is what he told me. But I did get a listen to the new Dan Clark Audio Carina, a semi-recent release, and they had an X9000 from Stax on the table, so I did some quick comparisons. They were not quite up to the challenge, but the Carina has a terrific tuning. It just doesn't share the resolving power of the X9000. The struggle is real, folks. Now, it was getting late in the day, so Audiofool and I set sail for the Music Tech table to check out the latest from Unique Melody. Super nice folks there. I appreciated their attention. I first tried the new Unique Melody Mess 3.0, another terrific IEM. It sounds like the old Mess, at least from memory, but it's more refined in every way, including in looks. Then he handed me a prototype that had been in development. It was pretty close to the Mess 3.0, but what got me was how thorough the interview was about how I felt about the sound of this prototype. It was fun to be involved in the tuning, even if it was only just a few minutes. Next, I tried out the Unique Melody flagship, the Mentor. $4,500 of pure IEM goodness. These things sounded great across the board. Sensational IEM, probably the best IEM I heard all day. It made quite an impression. They want to send me some gear too. I'm hoping for a Mentor. Folks, we're going to have a good fall and winter if just a few of these guys deliver on their words. Now, at the same table was a Mller. No, not the Estat Mller or any of the other dozen Mller products named that are currently on the market, but is there a shortage on Nordic names that I'm not aware of? Is Mighty Theour, is that taken too? Is every manufacturer going to have at least one product named Mller going forward? And why is the J silent? What's up with that? Okay, rant off. Okay, back to this Mller. It's a flagship DAC amp streamer and digital audio player. It's kind of a Swiss Army knife of a product. And in fact, if Indiana Jones was into headphones, I'd think he'd want this thing around all the time. It's simply amazing. But what I wasn't thrilled by was the software that was driving it. It kept turning the display on the unit off prematurely, and I was constantly having to revive it by hitting the power switch on the front panel. Now, the user interface on the player was lacking a little bit in execution too, but this was a prototype. It's probably going to get some revs before it hits the market. But to have a DAP touchscreen on top of your DAC amp, I'd love to believe they were going to sell a ton of these things, but at $7,000, this Mller is going to be more niche. Well, by now, the show was nearly over, so I needed to grab my Caldera and put it back in my satchel and grab my hat and whip, well, my headphone cable, and head for home. Now, I knew the drive was going to be brutal, but not before one last adventure in the DCS room to check out their uber expensive Rosini Apex DAC. Now, when I was listening to the Lena Master Clock earlier, the rep asked me to come back and have a listen to this Rosini. And who am I to say no? And it was my good fortune. This was the best sounding moment of the day, by far. It was refined, detailed. There was a lot of DAC to love here. It costs more than your basic car, talking north of 30 grand, but oh, that sound. What a great way to end the day. Yeah, I missed a lot of stuff, and I didn't have time in my schedule for a second day. So, Warwick, I'll get to you next year. Or send me something for review. I really wanted to sit down at that Elysian table and hear the Annihilator, Mod House, Zahl, Fur Audio. So many things I just couldn't get to this year. But at least I heard the majority of what I came to hear. Perhaps most important, I made a lot of contacts that will help this show down the road. And I was also able to meet a bunch of you guys. So cool. And thank you for coming on this wacky ride. I even ran into Jude from HEDDphone in the hallway. We exchanged a quick hello. I told him we were heading to happy hour. Now, coming soon, we're going to have a full review of the Stax SRX9000, that electrostatic flagship. I also have a mystery What's in the Box episode, courtesy of our friends at Audio 46. I have no idea what's heading our way, but it's always something interesting. Our giveaway is still live. Folks, get your names entered. We crossed 5,000 subscribers, and I'm just kind of paying it forward. So just watch the video right up here somewhere for details. Subscribe to the channel. It will only cost you a calorie or two, and it's excellent for your digestive health. Give the episode a thumbs up if you appreciated this ridiculous CanJam breakdown, or you can do the other thing if you think I should have just waited an hour to hear the bravura. I can't say I blame you either way, but I will see you before you know it.